Just to add on one detail, so we'll add on a sponsorship of Lili Nishos of David and Rav Shmuel B'Siyata D'Shmaya. So one detail on Meiser. One thing we didn't discuss is we spoke about a lot about Meiser. We're talking about Berachos today. No one should get nervous. Just very quickly is Chaimesh. And people, Baruch Hashem, who give Chaimesh sometimes get scared. Because the Gemara says, and the Chazal teach us, that if you give more than a Chaimesh, it says Shrek L'cha things, you could lose all your money. So people are very nervous to give more than a Chaimesh. So I think the story goes with the Chafetz Chaim that someone one time accused him of being a machmir. And he says, no, I'm a grace and makel. And he gave him a list of different areas that he's makel on that you can give more than a chaimish. That was his kula. But, and here in the Sefer Havas Chesed, he lists some of them. I'm just going to run through. I put together a list. This is from the Chafetz Chaim and elsewhere of 12 different cases that one could be makel on chaimish. One could be makel on chaimish, meaning one gives chaimish Baruch Hashem, and then another cause comes along. One of these 12 cases is a makim kula. What are the 12 cases? And you'll see when we finish the 12 cases that maybe it's not something you have to worry about so much. So number one is pikuach nefesh, if it's life and death. Number two, if there's an ani himself in front of you asking for money, you're allowed to give over a chaimish. Number three, this is the one that everyone knows and everyone always claims I'm not that, even when they are that sometimes, is an usher muflag. An usher muflag doesn't have to worry about chaimesh. I guess you can ask the ashirim to define the usher muflag. You have to ask the middle class people to define the usher muflag, and then maybe it will exist. Number four, which is a very big one, the Chafetz Chaim over here says, lachzakas hatayra. Hachzakas hatayra. So I don't know how many things fall into that category. But then you could give more than a chaimesh. Number five is the Shevet Levi learns you're allowed to. If you have enough, that you have a heter. That's his interesting lashon over there. Number six is kaidem maaseh, before one's death. Before one's death, he wants to, liquidate. You're allowed to give more than a chaimesh. Number seven is for pidyon shavuim. Number eight is if you didn't make the money, you just, found the money, were gifted the money, you're allowed to give way more than a chaimesh. Number nine is for a kapara. If you have kaparas avainis. Number 10 is for the basic necessities of an ani. Number 11 is for Yisachar Zavulan contract. So in case we didn't just almost list all the different reasons why you'd give money, the final one, the Chiddush of the Chafetz Chaim L'chaira is as follows, and with this we'll go straight into Berachos. Chafetz Chaim says here, if someone has the Mashat Skinu Chazal Shol Lefazer Yosem Echaimesh Nira Dahainu Daf Goksh Mevazvez Nichsei Beisai, is you're giving away your property al yedei zapizer more than the chaimish. The lashon Gemara is hamevazves avul bedavar muat kegain. What's his davar muat? Sheish li eze melacha ay eze kavua. You have a business shemishtaker by that you profit from. Kedei mechyasai kol shavua v'yeser me'at. And from here the poskim say Chafetz Chaim is referring to if you have a steady income. If you know, it's not that I'm going to give this way, you know that more is coming, then mutter lai lefazer hayoser litzdaka, even though it's more than a fifth. So this last one, I think, puts, the whole, I don't want to call it a myth, it's Gemara, but the whole concern to rest, that if one is giving a chaimesh and he's concerned that, I don't think one has to be worried about it. Baruch Hashem, there's plenty of makaim for, we'll call it kula, in this area. So now we're going to move on to Hilchos Brachos. Now the impetus of this year, you don't always necessarily need an impetus, is if anyone's learning Amid Yomi, the Gemara in Berachos. The Gemara in Berachos says that kol hananim el mazeh b'lei bracha is kilu ma'al. It's kilu ma'al. And the Gemara continues and it says, you're goizel me'kadosh Baruch Hu, very, very scary lashon, that you're stealing from Hashem. And the Gemara there says, so what should you do? Maita kante, says the Gemara, yilich eitzel chacham. Go to a chacham. Says the Gemara, what does it help going to a chacham? You already missed the bracha. Shkayach, you go to the chacham. What's this? Some other religions, you go, I sinned? No, it doesn't work that way. So what does the Gemara mean? Says the Gemara, what it means is, yilich eitzel chacham, and learn what the brachas are supposed to be. What the brachas, if you look at the Maharsha over there, the Maharsha says, this is really honing in on Birchas HaNehenin. And the Maharsha explains, which I think is obvious, is that because these are things that happen all day and every day, and if you don't learn what it is, then you're going to run into you're going to run into a problem. So that was really the impetus for discussing brachas, which is something that unfortunately we could spend our whole life and not really focus on. And I saw Rabbi Forrest over here. If you're ever looking for a good Hakdama, he hides all his good stuff in the Hakdama. Sometimes it's amazing how Art Scroll lets him publish some very fiery stuff inside his Hakdamas. I guess he assumes no one's really looking at it. But aside for the Talmidei Chacham, and for them it's okay. They could hear all the muster that he writes over there. He writes in his Kasha Sefer, he starts screaming about maids and screaming about vacations. It was like, it's a beautiful shmooze, but to publish it there. But either way, in the Berachos book, in his Hakdama, he writes at length. I don't know, we could spend probably a half hour now just discussing the inyan of a bracha, but I think we want to get more into the halacha shabai. But just one short anecdote he brings there from Rav Yaakov Kamenetsky. The Rav Yaakov used to say, when a 3-year-old puts on tzitzis, you get in these cute little tzitzis, and it's so cute and it's so beautiful. And maybe if the boy turns 4 and he's still wearing the same tzitzis, okay, it's still cute. The kid's 5, the kid's 6, the teeny little tzitzis, he's slowly running out of them. If the kid turns 8 and 10, and by the kid's bar mitzvah, he's still wearing those little tzitzis when he was at his upshar, and it's not really cute anymore. And says Rav Yaakov, and imagine if someone at his wedding, someone when he's in his 20s, his 30s, is still wearing those tzitzis, it's completely ridiculous. Says Rav Yaakov, we tell our little kids, we train them, make a bracha, make a bracha, make a bracha. If unfortunately we live the rest of our life at a bar mitzvah, at our wedding, at our 20s, at our 30s, and the knowledge of our bracha is the same, make a bracha, and halavai, I remember what it is, says Rav Yaakov, that's, I don't know, I guess the best word to say is it's a crime, and something that we should try to work on. So we're going to go into the halacha, and hopefully within, I'll try to balance the halacha with some of the little depth into what a bracha is, so that hopefully it tavar shava l'chol nefesh. But we can't begin learning halacha really at all without the words of the Chafetz Chaim, the Shemay Elam, and he says there's two types of learning. Something which is, I think, Yedua. Just to mention, as we're diving into the world of brachos, the Chafetz Chaim says there's one type of learning, which is Talmud Torah. Whatever you learn Tyrus. We know Chafetz Chaim was very fond of Tyrus and Kachim. Then you get a mitzvah Talmud Torah keneged kulam. But says the Chafetz Chaim, but there's a second type, which is Mechuyev Lilmoid, in order to know what to do. Says the Chafetz Chaim, B'chilek zeh koidem lakol. And it's obvious, he says. Why is it obvious? Because you got to know what to do. If you don't know what to do, then, the whole thing is ridiculous. When I was in a kollel and we were learning Hilchos Kiddush, and it was taking a very, very long time. There were months and months on Kiddush. So after shir one day, a good friend of mine went over to the Maggid Shir, and he says, it's gewaldik. We mamish know everything about Kiddush, and we know from the halacha to the hashkafa to how the whole dekos and the mailas and the ituf around all the zachen. He said, but guess what? I'm driving to Kiddush right now because I don't know anything about Hilchos Shabbos. So it doesn't really work. So we have to know what the halacha is in order to get there. And of course, for those who, without a segula doesn't get their, juices running in the morning, let's so where are we going to get a segula from? So, there's many good sources, but the Sefer HaChinuch himself, Sefer HaChinuch writes, he writes particularly about Berachos HaMazon, but as we're going to talk about, Berachos HaMazon is a lot. He says, Yizar Berachos HaMazon, Kol Zar Berachos HaMazon Mizaynaisav Mitsuyin Loi Bechavoid Kol Yamav. Very strong lashon of the chinuch. Could have said Mizaynaisav, your food will be matzui for you. Yamav. He says Kol Yamav, your whole life, and he adds in Bechavoid. You'll have a Bechavoid, and when the Berhetiv Krotzis, he throws in an extra word. He throws in Berevach. You'll have a little extra. So going from Meiser into Brachos, let's dive right in. So there's many Brachos is unlimited. I threw on the topic, I threw the few things that came to my mind, which were, the things we were talking about, Ashal Shudich, which was wraps, which was desserts. We'll see how much we'll get to. We're going to try to incorporate maybe the things that, unfortunately, we err on often. So let's begin. We said about Berachos HaMazon. Okay. So let's begin. When do we bench most particularly, aside for hopefully everyone this morning after eating a bagel, but when do we bench most particularly is on Shabbos. So if I were to say the following strong statement, I would never want to make such a statement, but according to Moshe Feinstein, a very high percentage of Klal Yisrael is not allowed to bench after their Suda on a Friday night. It would sound extreme. What do you mean? Rabbi, we're God-fearing Jews. We all have challah, and we all eat the challah. And what's the problem? What's the problem? And maybe someone say, those diet people, that they don't eat enough challah. No, it's not true. It's not true. They take their piece, they cut it in, they know the kezayis is whatever it is, a half a slice of challah, and they make sure throughout the whole meal to consume their half a piece of challah. And that's true. But says Rav Moshe, if you do that, you can't bench. Why can't you bench? What did he do wrong? Says Rav Moshe Feinstein, there's something called the amount of time that you have to eat your kezayis in. We know this on Pesach. On Pesach, this gets a lot of airtime, Baruch Hashem, and you have, the real machmir, and the one even get it in one gulp down the throat. No one knows how that works, but, we all could try. But Rav Moshe says that there's a Prima Gadim that says it's okay as long as you eventually consume your kezayis. Again, a kezayis is not an olive. A kezayis is an olive. But don't think that your kezayis are bread, and this unfortunately is what people do. No, it's an olive. You take a little bite and done, finish. That doesn't work that way. You have to have a kezayis, which is approximately... No. Well, maybe there's other people in our families that have this problem also. Maybe it's the female parts of people that have this problem. Maybe it's the diets parts of people that have this problem. But it's true. People eat the challah, but people do not eat it. The sheer achila is between 3 and 9 minutes. Within 3 minutes, I've seen many people, you take the challah, you take the bite, you go into the kitchen, you do what you do, you don't sit down for another 15 minutes. And according to Rav Moshe, you cannot bench. You cannot bench. So between 3 and 9 minutes, one should make sure, and I know 3 and 9 is a very long time. Is it 3 or is it 9? Yeah, okay, many of us don't have this problem. You're sitting down on a Friday night, you're starving. We all are, hopefully, we're going to take our musar from this past, the Sar B'Tevis, and stop eating just too much on Friday so that we can enjoy our Suda on Friday nights, as we spoke about on Friday night. And then what's going to happen is we're going to sit down and you're starving. You're starving. Number one is you actually drink Kiddush, which is a different problem. You can't just take a sip of Kiddush. Okay, that I don't think guys have such an issue with. Everyone could drink a little bit of wine. But number two is it comes to the Hamaitzi. So that's number one of the day. Now, if one didn't, halacha l'maisa, Mishabura holds you could bench. So I don't think it's something that we have to scream about, but it's something to know. Something to know. We're trying to be makbid on brachos. So point number one is you have to eat the challah within 3 to 9 minutes. You have to eat the sheer kezayis, which is, again, it's hard to give because, you see people cut challah. You got the people that cut challah like this, people cut challah like this. But they say if you take a loaf of sliced bread, the middle slice, I believe, is the number they give for a kezayis. Now, that's pretty hard to equate that into your challah and figure it out. But okay, point is, take an extra bite and you'll be good to go. Number two is let's go into something that happens often at Kadeshim, at Kiddush, which happens. It could happen sometimes when you go to multiple Kiddushim and you run into an issue. So now, first of all, we have to mention something called an Al-Michya. It's a little bit of an orphan child. And you have to make Al-Michya. I think that was a point on its own. You have to make Al-Michya. That's not this is in the greatest of places, you could be in the most incredible yeshivas. Al-Michya is difficult. I don't know why. To not make an Al-Michya, that doesn't work. You have to actually make the Al-Michya. Oh, you're about to go to another Kiddush. Okay, but eventually the day ends. And it hopefully doesn't end passing out on the couch until tomorrow. Hopefully the day ends. And whenever the day ends, you have to make the Al-Michya. But the question often happens is how much you have to eat for the Al-Michya. We just talked about you have to have a shear, right? You have to shear kezayis. So when it comes to Kiddush, sometimes, people eat quite the amount at the Kiddush. No, but what happens is, I'll tell you, you stop off at the second Kiddush. What you do is you take one cracker and you take, one little wine. So again, this is a little bit of, we'll call it a kula to help us. Rav Moshe Feinstein holds you could combine foods. Your wine, your grape juice, and your Mezonos combines into your Al-Michya. That's what Moshe says, that if you have one shear and the other not shear, so you're getting involved in a suffix, says Rav Moshe, you let it combine the two into the Al-Michya. Before we move on to maybe the main event, which is let's talk about desserts and things like that, just interject with a cute story. I don't want to call it cute, but it's a cute story. Of with the Rebbe of Zusha. Believe it or not, this is brought down by Rabbi Forst. Who would have thought? If anyone knows Rabbi Forst, it doesn't really, exactly. But anyways, Listen, for all strokes, they asked the Rebbe of Zusha, and they said to him, I feel like you might not believe me that it's actually here. I'm just gonna read you the line. It's a beautiful line. They asked him. They said, I don't understand. Why are you so happy, and your wife is always so depressed? Interesting question to ask a person. That's what they asked him. What's the reason why your wife doesn't seem so happy and you are always so happy? I'll spend it's somewhere in the first few. So he says as follows. It's in the Akdama over here. I'm telling you, this Akdama is loaded. 1 second. I just, what I was busy reading. Here we go. Right here. Chassidim relate that the saintly Rebbe, Rav Zusha Anapoli, was once asked, we're on page 24 in the Laws of Berachos by Rabbi Forst, why it was that he was so joyful, where his wife was always constantly unhappy. Interesting question. So what do you answer? No? Anyone knows?
He didn't take out the garbage.
What do you answer? Yeah. What do you answer? No? No? So he answered. It gives us the insight into, you would think the Rebbe of Zusha's wife is probably a holy woman, right? So he answered, his wife is always looking for him for sustenance and support. She has good reason to be depressed, he says, for I am not a good provider. Clearly he wasn't a good businessman. He says, but where do I look for my support? I, however, look to Hashem for all my needs. In His hands, I'm always certain that I will be provided for. So he might not have had any money, but the Rebbe himself, the Rebbe of Zusha, he was quite content. He didn't have any issues. But his wife seemingly had the problem. Now, what does this have to do with anything? This really has to do with what the word Baruch means. That the word Baruch does not mean blessed, as many of us maybe were taught. I think this is something later has become known to everyone. But the word Baruch comes from the word Barich es lachmecha. Barich es lachmecha. What does Barich es lachmecha means? It should increase. The word Barich, you have to follow Rav Zusha with a good moral, and then we'll get into desserts. Barich, Beis, Reish, Chaf. Beis is 2, Reish is 200, and Chaf is 20. Says the moral, beautiful. Beis is the first additional letter. An Aleph is 1. A Beis is 1 and 1. You have 2. A Chaf is the first, when you get into your double digits, 10, no, but then when you add addition, you get 20. 200 is when you have 100 and you addition, you get to 200. Says the Maral, the word Barich connotes not that blessed, it connotes a tefillah. Connotes a tefillah of increase. Barich es lachmacha, we're davening to Hashem. Every time we say the words Baruch Ata, we're recognizing that Hashem is the makar of all bracha. Hashem is where everything comes from. Hence, the Rebbe Rav Zusha was a happy man. He knew Hashem was the makar of all bracha, and therefore he had no issues. He had nothing. It didn't make a difference to him. And the word Barich is a tefillah that we should be able to have more and more. And therefore, in Yiddish, what do we say? This is all from Ray Force Dakdam. It's not my own Torah. It's beautiful. You just have to read through 20 pages to get this. What do we say in Yiddish? We don't tell someone to zaga bracha. We tell them to macha bracha. What does the word mach mean? To make. When you're saying a bracha, you're creating something. You're not just saying a bracha. You're creating something real. We're saying a tefillah to Hashem. We are actually creating something. So with that, let's go into two big topics that we could talk on forever. Please.
Just to finish up Kiddush.
Yeah.
Regarding hearing Kiddush and then being Yaitse Kiddush if you don't have a kazayas.
A little bit. Yeah.
If you don't have a kazayas, do you have to have when you hear Kiddush, do you have to, in order to eat anything, do you have to make sure you also have a Do you also have to have a kazayas, or can you just say you hear Kiddush, you can have a little bit?
So the problem with your question is this centers on a massive machlokes of Kiddush Makam Suda. That's really what you're asking, which we could segue for a very long time and not come back around and speak about Ramesh's fascinating Kiddush and Kiddush Makam Suda. We'll answer without doing that, because that itself is a gewaldige topic. But we'll answer that lechatchila you should also have you should have. I don't want to answer that way. We'll leave it. We'll come back to it. Ramesh, basically, every time you have kiddush, you have to have a suda. So in order to have a suda, you need to have a gezayis of mezainis. Ramesh Feinstein has a kiddush, and he says kiddush makam suda you need to have, but not at every single kiddush. So according to Ramesh, you could go to a kiddush and have just a piece of kugel and you're fine, because you'll eventually be mekayim your din of kiddush makam suda when you get home. Now that's a chiddush of Ramosha that he takes on literally kemat shulchan aruch, but he's Ramosha, he's allowed to do what he wants. So therefore the psak halacha, you can't say against Ramosha because he's Ramosha, but you would never say that l'chatchila you should do against what the pashtus is. So that's really the way. But what I will say, which is, I don't know if this is also what you're asking, but when it comes to drinking the kiddush, this is a fascinating detail. And I hope we don't get too sidetracked. Okay. Drinking. How much do you have to drink of Kiddush? How much do you have to drink of Kiddush? You have to drink a malei lugmav. No, you have to drink a malei lugmav. So this is perfect. I appreciate how much you poured me here. Because this is about an 8-ounce cup, right? Yeah? Anyone? Someone has to know that here. There's always one person that knows or pretends to know. Okay, so this is about an 8-ounce cup. Good. How much is inside this cup right now? 9-ounce cup. Okay, so wait 1 second.
The regular plastic one is 8 ounces.
That's better. How much is in this cup right now? About 4 ounces, very good. I was going to say 3.5, but good. I'm happy we're on the same team.
3.5.
Now we're at about 3.5. Good. In order to make Kiddush, we're going to talk Shabbos day now for a moment, because I think Friday night, and this really is a whole share unto itself, but we'll just sneak it in the middle over here. Friday night, I don't think anyone has a problem how you're making Kiddush, right? Because you come home, you pour the kais, and you make Kiddush, right? Shabbos day is where we have a problem. I don't want to use the word problem. We don't have problems. We have a challenge. It's better than a problem, right? The kid never has issues. They have challenges. So it's all in how you, we're all whatever. Yeah. Anyways, so the challenge that we have on Shabbos day is we want to make Kiddush at various occurrences throughout the day. And the problem is that to drink, we think in our minds that Kiddush din number 1 is you have to have a kais of a ravias. And din number 2 is that you have to have a full cup. And then din number 3, somewhere in our brain gets confused that we have to drink like half the cup or the whole cup. And we get confused maybe with Pesach, and even there it's not so pashit. There's no din of kol kais, it's roiv kais. But the question is, what do you have to do like baseline at Kiddush? Just to go on a 1-minute tangent over here. So if I were to fill up this cup as follows, with this amount of liquid, not with orange juice, although that would work b'diavad the same way. But let's start with wine, and then we'll say maybe other things. Let's say I fill up with wine this amount. This amount.
In this cup?
In this cup. In this cup, with this amount, with wine, on Shabbos morning at 11 o'clock. Would I be allowed to make Kiddush? The answer is 100% l'chol hashitas l'chol deis. There's no question. It's a maila to fill up your, I should say l'chol hashitas. Slicha. Depends how you learn Ramesh, but l'chol hashitas. It's a maila to fill up your cup to the top. It's a maila. It's ikuva, the din is you need a revius. It's 2 different things that we cannot confuse. Ikar hadin is you cannot make Kiddush if you don't have a revius of liquid. A revius, Shabbos day, that's why I went for 3.5 ounces. Shabbos day, Kiddush is a derabanan. A revius is approximately 3.3 ounces. Shabbos day. Friday night, we're makbid on more, we're makbid on more 5.5 ounces, etc. But Shabbos day, Kiddush is this. Therefore, and how much, 1 second, and how much do you have to drink? How much you have to drink? You have to drink roiv of this. Roiv of this, which is how much? Roiv of 3.3 is? 1.8, 1.75. Wonderful. Let's say you cannot drink 1.8. What could you do? You could be mitztarif. I could make Kiddush like this. I could then go and pour this out into 20 teeny little cups, and everyone could have a little bit. Says the Magen Avram, you could be mitzarif, you could combine all your little bits into a Kiddush. And it works. Everyone, it's not lechatchila. Lechatchila, you want to drink the 1.75 yourself. But it works. What does it mean it works? That the Kiddush was made, right? Sometimes we got to cut our losses. We got to say, did you make Kiddush or not? Then we could worry about whether you're doing it the highest level. Then Kiddush was made. Similarly, and this is where it gets controversial with the Hasidim and with the Taz and with the Buchacha and with Allah Chevra. But we'll say what everyone agrees to, and it's a fascinating thing. If I were to take 2 shot glasses, we have shot glasses. How big is a shot glass, Chevra? Oh, these are small ones. These are only 1 ounces. Okay, if I were to take 3 shot glasses and fill them up with liquid, now we'll see who is right. Oh, we were all so wrong. Wow. I was drinking? Oh, shucks. Can you pass the seltzer, please? Pass the seltzer. Don't worry, we're going to come back to pizza in a moment. We're going to come back to pizza in one moment. Okay, this is not seltzer, this is water. If I were to take a zoy, okay, I have 3 shot glasses. We'll pretend they're a chop bigger, so 3.3 ounces, okay? If 3 people were to come over and make a shahakol on them Shabbos day, according to the Taz, you're Yetze Kiddush. According to the Buchachi, you're Yetze Kiddush. The Dasteiriksin, you're Yetze Kiddush. And that's what the Chassidish Mahalach is, that you're Yetze Kiddush in that way. We could give a whole share on that as well. However,
only when there are 3?
No. If each person, 3 different people.
Okay.
However, everyone agrees. If look what you do like this. Let's say you go 1. Watch this. This is wonderful. I'm destroying my oranges. There we go. If you go like this, yeah. You go like this, and then you make the shahakol, and then you know what you do afterwards? You pour it back into your 3 cups, and the same 3 people. Somehow it never fits back. The same 3 people drink it. Everyone. L'chol hashitas l'chol hadayas agree. You are just Yotze Kiddush. There is no disagreement if you're Yotze Kiddush once you have a revius of any liquid which potentially could be used for Kiddush. Even orange juice, according to Kemat Moshitas, b'diavad you'll be Yotze if you have nothing else. Vodka, scotch, everything in the world, b'diavad you'll be Yotze if you have nothing else. The shaila only is when it's on 1 shot. So that's where the Chassidim are makel and the Mishabur is fire. But the fascinating thing is everyone agrees if you just put it in a cup, and yes, you can put it in the plastic cup, and exactly how we did it, fill it up only the quarter of the way, make the same shahakol, not drink 1 bit more, then the Mishnah Berurah agrees that you're Yotze Kiddush. A fascinating idea. I don't know where we got there from. L'chaim. And I spilled like a good shot. Baruch Hashem. Okay. Back into. So you asked me Yotze Kiddush. So that's a machlokes. The Taz famously says that you take the revius and you concentrate it into, because that's what is a shot of vodka. It's concentrated into a little bit, and that's the derech achila. So Taz says you could be Yotze Kiddush that way, and our paiskim who say you could be Yotze, but Lamaisa, that's the machlokes. The Chassidim there are some Chassidim, real Rebbes. Real Rebbes get in trouble over here. But there are Rebbes that b'dafka make it only on a shot. And even if they'll take it and they'll pour it into a shot. And that's where really someone says they have a minhag to make Kiddush on a shot. That's really the minhag. The minhag is dafka la'afuke, anything else. It's fascinating. You look in the Chassidish. So revius is concentrated according to the Taz, and God comes from, if you're looking for the Taz in Hilchos Shabbos, you'll never find it. It's a Taz in Hilchos Berachos with regard to bracha achrayna on a shot. But now, with that minor segue, now let's get back into what we were discussing. Let's talk about pizza first. Let's talk about pizza first. Before anything, I'm sorry. Before anything is Mezonos rolls. Mezonos rolls, right? So does anyone know what the story with Mezonos rolls are? Does anyone know? Does anyone know? So yes, everyone says, what? They wouldn't lie. If we could trust them for the kashrus, we for sure could trust them for the thing. So, in Eretz Yisrael, yeah. I just had it. After you finish eating it, it's like, oh, whoops, it was supposed to be a Mezonos. So the answer is...
That part never happened to me.
Yeah, exactly. The answer is, he quotes over here from Allah, Americana Shegedalim, Ray Belsky, Reuven Feinstein, Rav Moshe Heinemann, everyone, Rav Bick and Rav Stern and Rav Blumenkrantz, all Americana Shegedalim, that they asked, what's the story with all the rolls? Lechmani yois, that they make them with fruit juice and they write Bayer Mezonos. Now again, this is really each of these things you could give a whole sheer be'iyun on. What is, everyone's wondering, what's the shayla even? What's the shayla? Is it a roll or is it not a roll? So just to give a dot, the shayla is it's made with fruit juice. So made with fruit juice might not be hamaitzi. Now, when something's made with fruit juice, you have to ask how much fruit juice is it made with. How much fruit juice is it made with? And this is where all the machlekes begin. Really, it has to be 100% fruit juice. No one in the world ever made pizza with 100% fruit juice. Why? Because it wouldn't taste like pizza. It would be quite dreadful. So what they do is they take concentrate and then they dilute it times like 1 billion. So there is some sort of something in there. And then they add in extra spices to counteract it, and then you could claim, But lemaisa, if it's a bread, and this is really step number 1. If it's a bread, there's no one. If it's a bread, you make hamaitzi on it. I don't think it's going to come a time when people are going to have a challah and they're going to ask, Abba, do we make hamaitzi on the challah? Why does it Mezonos? So. So the a lot of, I don't know why the kashrus agencies get involved with brachas. I don't understand. They should focus on making sure the food is kosher. They're coming from a place of it's made with fruit juice, and in sugya, made with fruit juice is a reason to be a mezonos. So the quote over here is they say very simply is that if roiv b'nei adam, if the majority of people are kaivin suda on such an item, then v'chol kavana, and the whole reason of this is to be used as a roll, which is all the things we're talking about. Afin din isa yakdin isa shal mezainis, even if it would be, but still you would have to wash your hands and make hamaiti because you're having a meal on it. So this is where even if we'll agree, which we don't agree, because you have to go into the mitzias and you have to understand that it's not made with fruit juice and it's made with partial fruit juice and it's not really real, etc., etc. But even if you're sitting down to a meal like over here, let's say I would have told you after, oh, by the way, the bagels were made with fruit juice. It was a meal. It was a proper meal. So if you're not kaveh suda, that's where the shaila begins. But usually you're having a roll. Roll isn't you're having kaveh suda on a roll. You're having kaveh suda, but it could be. That's where the shaila. Yes, that's where the shaila. That's where the shaila would begin. So let's just step number one, which is what we all should agree to. So that's the question is what's being conveyed. The question is, are they actually putting in fruit juice? And that's where this will derail, and we won't really get that much clarity, unfortunately. But we'll start with step number one. Step number one is if you're having a suda, l'chol hashittais kimat agree that you're going to have to wash and bench on such an item. That's really step number one.
The Rav says kimat means there's someone who says you don't.
There are some Hasidic paiskim that say, but you have to be careful how they're saying it because they're only going in real fruit juice. And that's really where the sigya starts and really has to go to, which maybe we could, but it's more of like an Eon type of sigya to figure out what is the siba, what is the actual reason why something is hamaitzi or not. And that's where it goes to. So in order to go to step two, people are saying, what if I have it as a snack? So now let's include in this conversation wraps. Which again, we're not really doing justice. Wraps as in a wrap. Wraps as in a wrap. Not a lafa, a wrap, a tuna wrap, an egg salad. Good. So now the question is, what is a wrap? And this really makes what we just said a moment ago that much more difficult. So over here, when it comes to wraps, it's a very similar answer. Is that if you're having your wrap as a proper seuda, that's one shayla. And if you're having a wrap as a snack, it's another shayla. And the reason is, many of us know, it's something called pasta babakistin, something called these Mezonos type of breads, which whatever that means is a little bit, very, very unclear on what those words mean. But these are words, what they mean is, if I'm having it as a snack, it's a snack. If I'm having it as a suda, it's a suda. The same exact item, and this goes very extreme, like melba toast. I don't know exactly what it is. Anyone know what melba toast is? Crackers. Okay, crackers. I hoping it was something special because it doesn't really make sense. But melba toast, according to the Sefer of Yervazay's Bracha, he quotes from a Gadol Echad, which he writes, which everyone knows means Rav Yashiv, that if you have a suda of melba toast and crackers, you have to wash.
Held about melba toast that it's cooked as a loaf and then.
So that's a difference. That's good. Slow. That's something else. That gets us to the next issue. But let's say it's proper toast. Not proper toast. Yeah. Good. So let's go. Rav Yashiv says this even on crackers and all these things. That if you're having a sud on it, you're having a sud on it. Which gets very difficult because I don't think anyone in the world has ever had tuna and crackers and washed. Has anyone in the world? And no one has, and I don't think anyone should start. So let's just.
If you do wash, they're not going to bend.
You said that. I didn't want to say that.
I didn't say that.
So we get to wraps right now. Good. Let's get to wraps. So when it comes to wraps, I don't know if we're going to get to desserts today. When it comes to wraps, as follows. In the sugya, there's a big problem. Which again, I know I keep on mentioning, and if someone in the future prefers just to take one topic and go be Ian from A to Z, it would be my pleasure. And it depends on different strokes, different folks. Some people like a little spice and everything, and some people feel like that's just a bracha levatala. Might as well just give me one thing from A to Z with all the tire in it. I'm happy to do either, but why I chose this way, I have no clue. But when it comes to wraps, it comes as fundamental as matzah. What bracha do you make on matzah? Matzah, you make a mitzvah, right? But Sfardim don't. Sfardim make a mezainis on matzah the whole year. They only make a hamaitzi on matzah on Pesach. And the reason is because the matzah is something that's very, very, very thin. Something that's very, very, very thin loses its surah dinahama, its appearance as bread. Once you lose your surah dinahama, it's no longer bread. No longer bread. It's made from the exact same ingredients. Even if you're Kaveh Suda, if a Sephardi sits down to a matzah and cream cheese sandwich on a Tuesday, this week, tomorrow, he would not wash. He would not wash. On Pesach, the day itself elevates, and this is a difficult Torah to figure it out. But yeah, Sephardim, I believe. I've never seen a Sephardi do it, but I believe. I guess they don't eat matzah. But so a wrap is mamish the exact same thing. It's made from flour and water. This isn't that it's made with fruit juice. This is the way that it's made. Does it lose its tzura denama? And the chiddush of tzura denama is if it loses its tzura denama, it can never get it back. Even if you're kaveh suda on it, meaning it's completely out of the parsha. So there's three camps in wraps. There's three camps. You have those, and I'll give you names and faces in a moment, just first to give you what it is. There are those who say wrap is a piece of bread. Piece of bread, what are you making? It's a mitzi, finished. Well, who cares that it's a little thin? Meaning, as someone said a shalosh so eloquently, what's even seen a wrap and a laffa? One's a drop thicker. Like what's that makes a difference? And that's a good kasha. And that's it. What? It rises. Yeah, it rises. So, but in the make kaveh bracha, and that's part of the kasha in the sugya. That's one camp. Wrap is a mitzi. You have another camp that wrap is pasabah b'kisnin type. That it's because of the nature that it's eaten and it makes it into mezainis. But if you have a kaveh sud on it, then you make a mitzi. And then you have the third camp that says no, it's not bread at all. There's no tzura dinama, and it will never become hamaitzi. So what's fascinating, and this really opens our eyes to, when people say, oh, Rav Elyashiv is a machmir and this one is a mekel, when you start hearing what people hold about different things, you lose your cheshek to say such things. Rav Elyashiv held a wrap is a mezainis la'ilam va'ed. There's a video, you could all see it on YouTube. You just search Rav Elyashiv rap. And Rav Elyashiv is walking home, and with a W, and they show him a rap, and either he holds it or they wave it in front of his head. The point is you see it wiggle, and he says, I believe he says in Yiddish probably, there's no surah dinama. There's no surah dinama. Rav Pesach Leo Falk, the Baal Machzor Leo, who again we always mention, Goyne Gadol in America, we know him more from his Sefer Oz V'Hadar Levusha, for good or for not, but that's what unfortunately his psukim haven't as much. But he has a skama from Shlomo Zalman in his first sefer, which he wrote when he was like 35. So he's quite a gadol. We showed him a rap, and he did the exact same thing. He took the rap and he went like this, and it's not surah dinama. Mamash said that. Now you can also see if you once you're on your YouTube rap binge. You can say it on lap also. So when they went to Rav David Feinstein, they went to Rav David Feinstein. You do it with chal also. They went to Rav David Feinstein, and Rav David Feinstein did the exact same thing in the reverse. Rav David Feinstein took the rap. He says, "It's a shtick bread. It's a piece of bread. It's a mighty. No shayla in the world. No shayla in the world." And then you have in the middle. Well, of course you always have to have conflicting stories. With Rebelsky, there's conflicting stories. What he did and when, and they want to. That this gets real. He wants to. It depends on what type of flour is in there. That's a different level. And then you have like Rav Moshe Sternbach who goes down the middle road that says it depends if you're kaveh suda on it or not. That's wraps. That is wraps, which would probably. So what's the halacha on a wrap? I'll tell you, just because I personally sat by the Baal Machzor of Falk, and he told us straight to our face certain things. When Adam Gadol says something to you, could be if I sat with Rav David Feinstein and he would say it, I wouldn't be able to say such a thing. But Rav Falk looked at us and said it's not a mighty. So I'll tell you, there's certainly a maila, and this is in the world of brachas to pater everything. If you look at tzaddikim when they eat, it's wild. First of all, they don't eat, but if you look at tzaddikim when they eat, everything is patered. Everything's a suffix brachas in the world. You learn brachas, nothing is pashut. Everything is a suffix, and everything you pater. But you can't live your life that way, obviously. Walk around with a jelly bean for a shahakol and a bisli for a mezainis. It doesn't really work. So if you want, the lechatchila on a wrap is to wash on a piece of bread and to have your wrap. And that's certainly the highest level of lechatchila. If someone is not holding there, and often, and let's go to the opposite extreme, you're having your wrap as a snack, then you certainly can make a mezainis. And it's beautiful. It's beautiful. Certainly, you can make a mezainis. Can make what?
Not according to Rav Moshe, though.
Why Rav Moshe?
He said it was bread.
No, Rav David. Yeah, again, we're not going to get everyone over here. This is, you have everyone. I'm just going to tell you what Kachani Mikabel. And if you're kaveh sud on it, then it's a little bit more difficult, and there's more reasons to make a mitzi if someone wants. L'maisa, Rafal did hold, you can make a mezainis on it straight. And therefore, there is a makayim to say that. When it comes back, let's just circle back for one moment to the Mezonos rolls. The pashtus is here in America that the rolls are a Suda food. And that means even if you want to take them as a snack on a trip, the pashtus is you need a wash on it. Whereas when it comes to other items, they make these pizza snaps, and those are, a lot of it has to do with the way it's created and what is the norm of eating it. Certain things you look at this, I just saw on Mishaps, these things are like the smallest thing. I couldn't believe it. It's like literally so big. It's called a pizza snap. And those are clearly a Mezonos. Those are clearly, it is a snack, and there's many other ways how it's made, etc. Now, of course, this concludes with what do you do on pizza, and then this concludes with the classical machlekes. But one thing, Mashgiach was telling me how a bunch of people came into the store and they asked, how do you make the pizza? So he said they started making it with fruit juice just because they got screamed at. So they started making it with fruit juice just so they could tell certain people that they're made with fruit juices, and so then they'll be safritin. So they told him it's made with fruit juice, and the guy sat down, Gevaldik, and two guys ordered a pie of pizza, and they sat down, each one had 4 slices, and they made al micha, and you left. It's very schwer. It's very, very schwer. It's very schwer. We don't have such a Kabbalah, and the pashtus is, when it comes to pizza, once you're kaveya sud on it, for someone to say, this of course was Ramesh's Mahalach, as Rav Forrest brings down, once you're kaveya sud on it, avad you have to make hamaitzi, and you have to bench. And by the way, if you don't make hamaitzi, you still have to bench. It's not a vera geres, it is a vera geres, but it doesn't work that way. And this is one of those things, we'll blame teenagers on this one. You tell a kid, you have to bench. No, I didn't wash. It doesn't. Okay, so now bench. So if you didn't wash because maybe you thought you're only having a half a slice and you end up having who knows what, lamaisa, you have to bench. We didn't get into desserts. Mirza Hashem. Next time we'll go into desserts. Next week. And if Eilam wants, maybe desserts we'll do karoi. We'll just take one topic next week. And we'll take desserts from A. We'll take desserts from A to Z. We're just going to conclude with the words of the Arizal. Again, more from my newest Hasidic sefer on my desk called Rav Binyamin Forrest. He'll never be accused of that, so you could say it. We'll conclude with the words of the Arizal. And the words of the Arizal are Forrest quotes. It's a famous medrash. The medrash says that there's not a blade of grass that grows without a malach telling it to grow. And says the Arizal, what exactly does this mean? And this really is something we spoke about on Shabbos. This is really the Shem Shmuel and the Sfas Emes on this past week's parsha. Just to conclude, it says this past week's parsha that the brothers were nivhalu mipanav. What does it mean, mipanav? So we said over two pshatim, mipanav either means that they realized mipanav, he looked like Yaakov Avinu, and they realized, we were looking at Yaakov Avinu all along. That's how the Shem Shmuel says it. But Sfas Emes says mipanav, from his pinim, from his pinimius. They saw Yosef Tzaddik at that moment as who he really was, not as the hair-curling, physical person they thought Yosef Tzaddik was. But at that moment, they saw his pinimius, they saw his inside, they saw his sidkus that it was. That's why Nevhalu Mipanav. Similarly, says the Arizal, and really the Sfas Emes and the Shem Shmuel on this past week's parasha continue and explain this as well. Says the Arizal, what does it mean that a blade of grass doesn't grow without a tzaddik, without a malach saying it to grow? That means within every blade of grass, there is some element of kedusha within. There's a malach that told it to grow. Within every ounce of physicality, there is some spirituality within. How do we tap into that? Says the Arizal, when you make a bracha, what you're doing is you're taking the physical, elevating it through the bracha. We can maybe call it bringing out the neshama of that physical, bringing out the ruchnius that's lying latent within the physical, and thereby eating it. And that's, of course, the meaning of the pasuk in Devarim, the loyal alechem yichya adam, ki al kol moitzei pi Hashem, that we don't live on bread. We live on the fact that we make the bracha on the bread, which injects the spirituality into the food that we eat, and therefore it nourishes us. So b'siyata d'shmaya, usually the way that it works is that when you learn a little bit about brachas, even though maybe we didn't talk about desserts, and maybe we didn't talk about something else, when your mind is a little bit more focused on the bracha, your mind's a little bit more focused on the ruchni, your mind is thinking a little bit about, benching from a bencher. We heard from Rav Shach, and we heard about the incredible skula for Shidduchim, the incredible skula for Zeresh Al-Kiyamba, for kids as well. So your mind's more on it. When your mind's more on it, then all of a sudden we start seeing in other areas that we start focusing, and that's really the kiyum of these words of the Arizal, to bring out the ruchnius within every element of the spiritual. B'siyata d'shmaya. We should all be zeicha l'kach.